What about with like prospecting and with procurement? Was there like something that you had to learn the hard way? Those two things that reps have to do?
Absolutely. There have been times in my career, I think now, if you give me a list of, okay, Kevin, these are the 20 accounts that you need to go sell to, I like really understand how to go research those companies, how to find out who the decision makers are, how to find out where there's overlap between what I'm trying to sell and what they're doing, and at least then have a hypothesis of how to go attack those. Even 5 to 7 years ago, I wasn't as good at that. I think when I was at Google, I sort of started to realize, I think that's when I realized there was a gap there, that every other person that was on my team had done that stuff a million times and I hadn't. And I knew that I was better than them at some things. I was better at talking to customers. I was better at being empathetic. I was better at talking to technical decision makers. Like, I was better at all these things. I wasn't better at going through a list of companies and then making an account plan, then making a territory plan. Like those things were weaker for me. I had to develop those. And I think it was really only like when I worked at Grafana Labs where all of a sudden I think it all kind of came together, where I had the right experience. I had done that now many times. I learned from my mistakes in the past. And I think that was probably where I executed the best.
Kevin, real quick, like on the legal stuff, I hadn't thought about it like that before. I think that's really good coaching you got, and it's like a really good habit to build. Are you using AI tools now to do that for you? Is that possible at your company, or is it too sensitive to put into an LLM?
I haven't. It doesn't mean you can't, but I just think that okay, well, let me answer. It's probably a really good thing to do. However, the way I see it is that I wouldn't want to do it and I wouldn't coach my reps to do it, because the reason why is that when you do 100 agreements, these legal agreements, people aren't redlining random parts of that. There's like usually 5 to 10 hot button issues that everyone's going to redline in every company agreement. And I would want my reps and I would want my peers exactly what those. And I'm redlining this, my eyes just immediately go to like, what are the hot button issues? Okay, indemnification, net payment terms, source code access, right? Like all this stuff. And so it actually doesn't take me that long anymore to go through the contracts. The contracts that we had were 10 pages by default. Sometimes a company will make you use their paperwork, but let's just say they're redlining your paperwork. You know exactly where your eyes are going to go. And sometimes lawyers will just make changes just to it on the stuff where there's like meat. In 5 minutes, I can see what it is. So I don't need AI for that.
It's kind of like watching a video on fast forward of how to do something versus doing it yourself a few times to learn all the intricacies.
I was going to ask you the same question, but with regard to account planning and prospecting, do you use Google Deep Research or ChatGPT Deep Research now to think about how to do account plans, where your two companies overlap, where there might be synergies, or the person might need your product, who to talk to, mapping things out? Like, do you use AI for that now?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've used Gemini to do something that's really cool. So one thing, starting a new company, vector database, where do I start? Who do I reach out to? One cool prospecting exercise I did was I thought, okay, well, all of our competitors out there, the more established companies, they all put who their best customers are, the reference customers are, on their website. That's just public. So I can get I know who's using this stuff. So I went to every competitor webpage and I just sort of manually did this. I'm sure I could use AI to scrape, but then I manually just wrote down in a spreadsheet the name of the competitor and what the customer is that's using their software. Okay. Then I went through that. So I had a list. Then I did a LinkedIn search for everybody who works at those companies who has vector database or their product names in their profile. So now I have a couple hundred names of all people I know that work on the companies. Then I dumped that into Google Spreadsheets, into Google Sheets, and then I had Gemini go through and say, hey, for a person whose name is in column A, who works at column B, who has selected column C as a vector database, like go through, tell me the top, like write an email to that person that mentions what their company's top struggles are that are related to AI, mention the vector database they're using, let them know that we're focused on ultra low latency, fast indexing, high scale, see if they can give us any feedback on whether or not that's an issue that they've encountered. I put in quotes what I wanted my email to be and then generate me an email. And it was amazing. Now, I didn't even use the final output. I would go through and change it because I didn't feel comfortable like just sending some AI generated slop because I get way too much of that sent to me. So I would go through and make it my own to just like remove the writer's block of getting from like 0 to 70% was just such a huge gain of efficiency. That was an awesome experience. So I think I use AI a lot when it comes to prospecting. I think you have to be careful because like I get a lot of just cold outbound research, outbound to me, all AI generated. And
Yeah, you can tell it's AI generated and it's like, ugh, delete.
it's just gross, right? Yeah.
What about not necessarily on the communication side, but just the account planning side? Do you think about which, I don't know. I mean, maybe this question doesn't make sense, or maybe you already answered it. But, I mean, that was more about focused on like specific people, and that's obviously a huge part of it. But what about just determining which companies, like, okay, for people who are already using your competitors, that's
Every sales manager will say like to their people, hey, I want you going through all your prospects, read their annual reports, know their business. And okay, the bottom line is know their business. Of course, that is super important with engaging with your customers. But also like, oh man, when you hear that, you're like, oh really? I got to go hunt down all these PDFs, and then I got to read all this like legalese for these 25 companies I have when I know I'm only probably sell to half of them. This is, I mean, just to be able to like ask these agents, summarize 10Ks and summarize quarterly reports, that is so useful. It takes a long time to go through that stuff. So if you just want to say, hey, here's a PDF of the quarterly report, tell me like the three best things about what the company's doing, the three worst things, it's amazing.